Hi, welcome back, and thank you so much for joining me again. It's time to actually vote for the first round of the Goodreads Choice Awards. I had the best time reading all 11 thrillers. That's right, I did it. So let's get into the voting and the books so I can tell you all about them and tell you which one I'm voting for in the thriller mystery category. So first category, I don't get to vote for fiction, but I am still going to be reading and putting on my TBR nothing but nominees until the end of this. So from this category, I have on hand Real Americans, Intermezzo, The Wedding People, possibly Here One Moment, I'm not sure. I don't think so. And Blue Sisters. So if any of those are really good, tell me to read them now so I can check it out and vote for it if it makes it to the next round. I will be back again tomorrow to find out with you what does and doesn't make it. Next up is historical fiction. I also don't get to vote in this year. This is my first year not voting for either of these categories. What was I doing with my life? Reading random fantasy, really random fantasy, and dark romance. Yeah, I know. Don't judge. Like, bodice stuff. Shh, I had a whole like Bridgerton phase, but I have By Any Other Name, Husbands and Lovers, and The Seventh Veil of Salome, and I can be persuaded to buy just about any book. So if any of these are super fantastic and you're like, I know you'll read it, I know you'll give it 5 stars and want to vote for it, please let me know now because Amazon has 2-day delivery and I will read it, or if I already have it, easy peasy lemon squeezy. And thank you so much to all of you who commented in the last video and gave me all of your recommendations. Y'all told me to buy a bunch of different books, but I did, and I can't wait to check them out. So thank you so much for all of the recommendations. I really appreciate it, and I love chatting with all of you. All right, readers, favorite mystery and thriller. Let's go! Starting off with The Midnight Feast. Lucy Foley's The Midnight Feast. Last year she had a rough year. Not that many people liked the guest list. I was one of the few who did. It's okay to hate characters. They can be made to be made hateable. That's what I'll say about that one. But The Midnight Feast was delicious. It was lush. It was beautifully written. I loved the imagery. I immediately saw Nicole Kidman starring in like another one of her mini series. She's probably a little old for it, but it's Nicole Kidman. Who freaking cares? The woman can do anything. I thought Lucy Foley grew in leaps and bounds from her last book. The writing felt so much better. I thought her descriptions were really on point. I thought her characters were on point. I was interested from start to finish. I thought this was intricately layered from beginning to end. We have 2 timelines, a past and a present. We're watching them unfold. We're seeing how all of the characters are linked and intertwined, and ones that I didn't even expect to matter or be related. They're all there. They're all important somehow, folks. So I ate this up. I'm not doing it on purpose. I swear to you. I am so proud of Lucy Foley for how far I feel like she's come from her simpler plots, from managing fewer characters to having this massive cast, to having multiple timelines, journal entries, all these things going on. And her tongue-in-cheek way of describing, even the people attending know there's like the crystals and like the CBD and all the health retreat stuff. It's just a little like, do you really buy it? Like, I loved it. I enjoyed this so much. I recommend this wholeheartedly. I am really sad to see it only has a 3.61. I don't know why people didn't enjoy it. I didn't want to like read and ruin that for me. When I pick up a mystery thriller, this is exactly what I want. And I'm so proud of her. I feel like this is like, she really like worked hard on this one, and it was just so intricate and well done. I loved it so much. Versailles Winds was really fun. I hadn't read anything quite like this. It was like secret identity, all that kind of stuff. So it was really fun for me, but it was also not necessarily a genre that I totally loved. I'm sorry to say, I definitely like that more like, this could have been a true crime kind of feel. Not so like oh my gosh, there's people hired to do different things kind of world. So it ended up being 4 stars for me, but it was well written and it was really good. So if you like that kind of thing, definitely check it out. How to Solve Your Own Murder. I loved this book so much. I read it over the summer. It was really, really fun. And if you like cozy mysteries and Only Murders in the Building, it's kind of like right in between the two, because it's got a girl who goes over to meet her grandma, or its great aunt, and unfortunately the old woman has met her demise. However, as a teenager, this woman was like told she was going to be murdered, so she kept notes on everybody she ever met and like everything that ever happened. So it is a wild, fun, hilarious, kind of campy, really interesting read. I loved it. I'm almost tempted to vote for it now that I'm talking about it. It was really great. It was really original. It was really fun. And I really want to see more from that author, and I think she's going to do more in that world. So it was a lot of fun. Rita McFadden's The Boyfriend. So this is an interesting one. We've got dual timelines, girl looking for a boyfriend in the present, guy who we think might be her boyfriend in the past who's a little twisted. I was very curious to read this because I read The Housemaid by her before, and I also read The Teacher by her in this round, and both of her other books had like part 1, part 2 after some cataclysmic event, and I was like, is that all her books? No, it is not. This one is very like 2 timelines. They sort of mirror each other as our main girl falls in love with a potential boyfriend after her friend sort of accidentally turns up dead in her building. Did I mention that? Not great. And then the second timeline is this young man in high school with his creepy best friend, and he's sort of falling in love as well. So we're following these dual timelines, and it does this great mirroring thing, so that was really fun. But that was kind of where the complexities ended. Basically, you figure out, okay, the cast of characters in the present is linked to the cast of characters in the past, and there's only so many slots that we're going to fill in the present from the past. So it was kind of just like, okay, who's who? That was kind of it. It was fairly straightforward. I will say her writing being so simplistic, like I churned through this. I went through this so fast. It's kind of unputdownable, but her writing is a little simplistic for my taste, but maybe that's what makes it so compulsively readable. You just fly through it, and like you just have to know. You just like, you can't, I just have to know, and it's so easy to read, you keep going. So I see why people keep picking up her books and just read them and fly through them, and that's why they're so popular. I get it now. I get it. Was it my favorite? No. I found it fairly predictable, especially because she used the same twist in the past and present to a certain extent, and like, it's kind of cool in concept, but in a thriller, it's kind of like, no, I got it the first time. So 3 stars. All the Colors of the Dark. Now, this is one that is absolutely, possibly one I might vote for my favorite mystery thriller. However, it's more of like a literary mystery. You're not so much gonna get like your thrills and chills, but it is really beautifully written. It is historical. We start in the 70s and end up in like 2001. It's got this beautiful tale of these 2, I would call them soulmates. They're best friends. They love each other so much they would do anything for each other, but their lives take this very separate break when tragedy strikes in their town, and there's all these girls around them going missing. The writing is really so elevated. That is what sets this book apart, as well as this really drawn out timeline. You don't often see a book that's like, I am going to go for like 30 years. I'm just gonna do it. You're gonna see these kids grow up. You're gonna see them develop. You're going to see their psyches as they erode from what happened, or as they try to struggle through and make sense of life. You're going to see their lives change as their parents grow and age, and they learn to love or not love. You're going to see it all. The aftermath of events as well as the offense. And it was so well done. It was just, the writing was elevated. The exploration of the human psyche, and the exploration of what sacrifice means, what love means, all of that was just, you don't get that in a 300-page thriller, you do in a 600-page thriller. And I was really impressed with Chris Whitaker. I thought some of the phrasing in here was just lovely. However, I'm not gonna go put this on my mystery thriller shelf. Yes, at the end, it pulls the mystery way back in after pages and pages and pages and pages and pages of all these life events. But to me, this belongs probably on my historical fiction shelf. So that's a little tricky for me. This is not what I'm going to pick up when I want a mystery thriller. This is when I want something a little more serious, and it's going to just tear up my heart and just shred it. Amazing 5 stars. Loved it so much, but not the epitome of the genre. House of Glass. Okay. This one was just a little lackluster for me. Unfortunately, it was just so straightforward. It was one point of view, one timeline. There was no like multimedia stuff going on. It was a very unique concept where all the glass in the house was replaced with like something else. But other than that, I felt like it was fairly predictable. The rush at the end, you know, in thrillers, I never felt that like adrenaline, like it never picked up. I never had that moment of like, oh my gosh, what if they don't make it out? Like I never had that. And I always get that. I'm a very nervous person. It's not that hard to do to me. So I just felt like something was missing. It was fine. But when I closed the book, I was like, I could have done something else in that like 2 or 3 hours. Like, you know what I mean? It just felt like something was missing. And maybe it was glass. Or maybe it was Greer Hendricks, because this is the first book that I read by Sarah Pekkanen without Greer Hendricks. And those are always 4 stars for me. So, ouch. Okay, The Return of Ellie Black. I just finished this today, and I'm going to say, like, all of these obviously have some, like, trigger warnings going on. But this is, like, girls being kidnapped, and, like, it's a little rough to read some of this. So I warned you. That being said, it was a good read. I was a little worried it was going to be too police procedural because the main character is a policewoman who lost her sister 20 years in the past. But because that is more the focus, her emotion, her obsession to a certain extent, how it has stunted her relationships, how she's still focused on the past so much because of it, it doesn't come off as a police procedural kind of thing at all. So no worries there. That was really well done. Her working through her trauma sort of being a driving force for her. The author did a really good job showing a division between the policewoman's voice and Ellie's voice, because we do hear from her. We start to see a timeline where her timeline of getting discovered meets up with the timeline of the investigation of what happened to her started, and her like stonewalling it basically, because girl's traumatized, all right? Good God, she was gone for 2 years, but now there's another girl missing, and like, will she help? But she's like sleeping in a crawl space, totally freaked out. Like, give the girl a sec, okay? Okay. It's a sad read. It's a tragic read. I didn't expect the whole story to like blow up quite so much at the end, and like, okay, we're gonna go like, that was a lot. I didn't really necessarily care for the ending. This is the kind of story that is just a little hard to read, and because of that, I enjoyed it a little less. But all in all, well done, very tight. I don't know if I needed to see a little more in terms of explanation or motivation from the culprits at the end. Maybe that's what was missing, but I did close the book feeling like something was missing. I will say that. But I think it was like 4 stars. Now, It She Seems is not one that I know. Richard Osman. This was an interesting one. So, remember when I said I don't love like hired hitman stuff? Well, this is exactly what this is. We've got Richard Osman's like Thursday Murder Club, a dad who's retired and just wants to get to his pub quiz and be with his cat Trouble, okay? And his daughter is working for this like big fancy firm, and she's a bodyguard for like billionaires and actors, and like right now a writer who has sold 60 million books. And they go on this wild adventure. I mean, they're jet setting to all these cities, including like Dubai. What's fancier and like more wild than Dubai? I don't know. Nothing seems it to me. There's hired hitmen, and there's car chases, and there's billions of dollars on the line, and there's influencers, famous actors shooting movies, and there's literally people like tricking one another and like trading companies. And I mean, it's a craziness. It feels like something like, I don't know, my husband would watch or read or listen to. It's like a spy thriller thing. I've never read anything like it before in my life. It was an experience. I don't know what to do with that experience. Like, objectively, it was a very distinct voice. There were times when it was very funny. The writer is hilarious. She's like from the 80s, okay? She has 80s money. She is never quite sober. She is like Blanche Devereaux from Golden Girls. If you haven't seen it, I saw it during lockdown. Hilarious. She is just like, I will do any man. I've been with every man. Like, get it, girl. But, like, I don't know what to do with this book. I had fun, but I don't know if I want or need to read any more like it. But it was unique. But I will not be voting for it. Next up, Frida McFadden's other book that I read. Okay, The Teacher. So, when I was 22, I got my first class of juniors and seniors. They were 16, 17, 18. I was young. I was not that far off from them. And here, we had teachers who were 40s or older, all right, and a teenage girl. Like, let me just say, well, I mean, the main character is a woman, and she's just, like, witnessing the disaster. And, like, the man has already been fired in the beginning, so. But you don't look at your students that way. You don't. Like, you look at them with, like, possibly, like, caring. I want you to do well on your SATs, protect a sense of protectiveness. Maybe, like, I want you to be happy and, like, have a good life. And, like, I'll help you with your college essay. But, like, no. Ugh. Like, this, no. Like, I can't even watch Pretty Little Liars anymore. When I first watched that, I was like, oh, and now I'm like, Ezra, no. So, that aside, this is in multiple parts. The twist at the end blew my mind. I was like not okay with it, but it was amazing. This was so much more intricate and developed than The Boyfriend. There were so many more interesting little twists and turns and flips. And I think it was because it was, while mostly linear to a certain extent, the points of view were all at the same time. So we were getting such different perspectives of the same events and things that were happening at the same time. You're seeing multiple narrators and you're slowly realizing, okay, nobody is completely reliable. Nobody's seeing all the right stuff. Nobody's getting it all right. And that's what made this so completely interesting. So, also, lots of shoe descriptions. The main female teacher who is watching all of, like, the events unfold is obsessed with shoes, so points. I did enjoy this a lot more just because it had a lot more moving pieces and it felt a lot tighter to me and it was a lot more believable than The Boyfriend. Shockingly, horrifyingly, but it was. You're like, what the heck happened to The Boyfriend? Yeah, be afraid. So if it weren't for the subject matter, this would have, like, been such an enjoyable, fantastic, mindless read. Again, her writing is so easy to read, but the subject matter, I was just like, oh, that was my issue with that one. Listen for the Lie by Amy Zentera. This is one that has a podcast in it, so of course, instantly, I'm like giving it an extra star. This ended up being 5 stars. I loved it. This is about a girl who, like, she saw her best friend, and like her best friend's like the night before her wedding or wedding night, and then her friend ended up dead and she was covered in blood, but she didn't remember anything, and now a guy wants to do a podcast about it. And like, do you kind of figure out the ending to a certain extent? Yes, but I had so much fun reading it. I just remember eating this book up. Like, it is so readable, it's enjoyable, it's fun, you're questioning her memory, you're questioning her as a narrator, you're questioning everything. It's one of those, and it wasn't overdone, because sometimes those go a little, like, too far, and it didn't. I loved it so much. Home is Where the Bodies Are scares me. The Mystic Guest by Nita Prose. Her writing is just not for me. I really didn't like The Maid, and it was very much the writing, and I didn't like how she treated the characters. Sorry. The Night We Lost Him by Laura Dave. It's not a bad book. It's not a bad book. It's just, it's slow. It's slow. If you've ever read Laura Dave, she likes to focus more on like the familial relationships and the interpersonal relationships and the relationships that are all occurring throughout the book and working to parallel them and make them develop in interesting ways. And those are the things that sort of drive the story forward for the most part. And when you are reading these adrenaline action-driven stories. Even the historical ones that I read, they still, like, they were nonstop. Okay, they were nonstop. When you get to this one, it's just like, it was this giant pause, and it took me so long to get through this book. I'm so sorry. In another time, like on a cozy winter night with like a cup of tea and like the snow falling or like a cold rain falling, I probably would have really loved this, but it didn't work for me in this particular context. And the other thing that didn't work for me is that it was just so unbelievable. So we have a brother who has been kind of estranged from his sister. They're from different marriages, and all of a sudden, she's like, hey, I think Dad's death wasn't maybe an accident. And they go all over, like, they just go to California. They live in New York. And they drive all over for, like, days. And then they go back. And then they drive all around New York. And, like, they're supposed to have full-time, really busy jobs. She's, like, an architect. And all these appointments. Like, it just didn't make sense for these characters to be able to be, like, dropping everything and doing all these things. There was no reason really for the police to like have not fully investigated, and the thing that cracks the case open would have been so completely obvious to any police officer or any human being ever. Like, it just, what do you mean that thing was missing? Like, it just, yeah, this one didn't work for me. I'm sorry. However, the writing was decent, and the main relationship that the dad that drove the book basically was beautiful, and I loved that so much and thought that was so well done, and I haven't seen that really too much in the way it was done. So that was like 3 stars right there. That was really lovely. I did love that, and the way that that one relationship rained down on the entire family forever. So I will give her 3 stars for that. That was really well done, but not thrilling. The God of the Woods by Liz Moore. This is another one that sort of transcends genres. This almost hits like literary fiction, if you know what I mean, because there are 2 children that go missing 10 years apart, and it's the same family, the same location. You get that parallel story thing that I love. You get that dual timeline thing that I love, but the writing. There are some phrases in here, like, if you are a mom, I'm so glad Jessica Allard warned me, like, take a minute. And when you think, like, oh no, it's okay. No, it's not. That's when this Moore is going to just rip your heart out, because the poor mom, like, you are going to get some heart-wrenching scenes. The writing is just absolutely not going to show you any mercy. I mean, honestly, if you're a friend, mother, sister, whatever you are, you're gonna get hurt by this book. Enjoy. It was 5 stars. It was. The 4 different voices were different. The viewpoints were well done. I thought it was so well written. The mother's anguish, though, is what I cannot forget from this book. Like, this one scene just haunts me. Like, haunts me. Like, I can visualize reading it on the page. Kind of haunts me. And that's when you know a writer has done something incredible. Oh my God. The way Liz Moore describes grief and goes into what it can do to you, and then to have to re-experience it, and what family will do to fight for you and protect you, and how trying to protect you can hurt you. I mean, it just, man, this book. No one's replaceable. This also easily could have gotten my vote. I think this is going to make top 10 easy. It was 5 stars too. Oh my God, how am I going to pick? Society of Lies, dark academia murder mystery. Come on, you know it's gonna be good. We've got Ivy Leagues, we've got rich kids, we've got scandals. This is the one I am matching today. If you don't know the Liquidor things, it's a little cheesy, but I have a lot of fun with it. We've got 2 sisters attending the same school, belonging to the same secret society, and then one gets murdered, so that's kind of bad. But aside from that, no, the writing is what set this one apart. It was sharp. It was on. It was vivid. I just felt like it just had a little extra oomph. Although I did feel the length in this book weirdly. I don't know why. but I did. You kind of know where things are sort of headed. I will say that. And the ending, the good definitely outweighed the bad though. You get all the seasons on campus. You get the great Ivy League settings. You get all those studying moments. You get the friendships building. You get some romances in there that are really sweet. But the book does some really deep soul searching when it comes to building sisterhood about regrets and building sisterhood too late and what sisterhood means. But it definitely scratches every dark academia itch you want to. It's got that deep, dark underbelly and all the like scandalous, awful machinations that you want hiding under Princeton in this particular case. So if you love dark academia and you want some murder on the side, which usually go hand in hand, you'll probably really enjoy this one. I didn't read a lot of dark academia this year, and I loved this. Darling Girls. Who, be forewarned, foster children, scary foster mommy. Don't say I didn't warn you. Great dual timeline again. Unexpected, the very twist at the end. When I turned to the last 2 pages, I literally made some sort of squeaking noise and like threw the book because A, I was so surprised, and B, I was so horrified. And like I was floored. I did not see that coming. What? You are seeing someone talking to a therapist the whole time and you're not sure for a very long time who that is. You're seeing the past, the present. They find bones underneath this foster house and the 3 sisters have to go back. And you're seeing how they deal with it, what they turn into, how they try and deal with their trauma. It's a hard read and that's why I can't give it 5 stars. But was it well done? Yeah, I think Sally Hepworth went harder on this one than I've seen her go in the past, and I really enjoy her books. She always has that little extra like, I'm gonna make you uncomfortable twist, and in this one she really twists that dial up, so be forewarned. But this was 4 stars and it was good. If you like Sally Hepworth, for me this felt like a little bit of a departure from things we've seen from her in the past to a certain extent, but I think it was so much better than last one I read, The Soulmate, which I found kind of boring and predictable. She must have heard that feedback and been like, okay, I'll give you something that's definitely not boring. If you want to stare at a page in semi-horror for most of the time, fantastic. And you want not predictable? I'll let you think you know what's going on, and then I'm going to destroy you at the end. Darling Girls. And The Heiress, I don't have, but I ordered, and I think it's on a neighbor's porch somewhere. It happens all the time out here. And Middle of the Night really scares me. So who are we voting for? Oh God. Oh God, oh God, oh God. Do I vote for the incredibly well-written, amazing one, which clearly already won some sort of award, I can see it from here, or do I cheer on Lucy Foley, who I feel like stepped it up so hard and really just nailed her craft with The Midnight Feast? Okay, I think I'm gonna vote for The Midnight Feast because when I pick up a thriller, that's what I want. If I had just, like, All the Colors of the Dark, that's more like serious literary fiction. That's I'm emotionally capable of letting you hurt my heart right now. This is not that category for me. So I'm going to vote Midnight Feast. Oh God. Plus, we all know All the Colors of the Dark is making it anyway. Okay, favorite romance. I clearly need to read some books in here. So I have The Paradise Problem. I have Funny Story. I have Wild Love. I have the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore, but I really didn't love the Pumpkin Spice Cafe that much. I know. It wasn't my favorite. So it probably won't be a winner for me. I have Lies and Weddings, and I have Not in Love, and I have Love Song of Rookie Wild, and I have Daydream. So if any of those were really incredible, please let me know, because right now I am choosing between Bride and The Pairing. And Bride, I feel like, is miscategorized because it is, like, at the very least paranormal. It's a vampire and a werewolf. It's a megaverse. Like, yay, Allie Hazelwood, but one of these things is not like the other. And And then the pairing from Casey McQuiston. I thought the descriptions of the food were incredibly beautiful, and I liked some things, but ultimately I thought this relationship was like not super healthy, and their breakup made no sense in the first place. And I hated that the first half of the book was from one point of view, and the second like entire half of the book was from a second point of view. Like, I hated that so much. Never tell me to read a book written like that ever again. So I have to vote for Bride, even though I'm like not loving the category. But like, please tell me what else to read so I can not vote for Bride. That sounds awful, but you know what I mean, right? Right, okay. Favorite Romantasy. Bay Bound. So, I'm not sure that I think this is like necessarily Romantasy, but if it is, then fine, fair play. However, it was the romance that I kind of felt let it down and felt a little like rushed to a certain extent to me. At least like some of the relationships that, then again, that particular sister was very like held back emotionally and very stoic, so maybe it suited her. I'm not sure. But I loved the world building. I loved the writing. I loved the creativity. I loved how it's one of those books where it starts talking about how the world is built, and then you get to a certain point in the book and the entire thing flips and you're like, oh my god, nothing is what I thought. This is incredible. I've never read anything quite like it. It had magic unlike any I had ever seen before. I just ate that book up. I would vote for it in fantasy, romantasy. Thinking about it. SJM, we know, is probably going to win, but I thought House of Flame and Shadow was the weakest book that I've read by her. First of all, there's not that much romance, just saying, but this is her category. I understand. However, it wasn't that well written. It was kind of long and confusing. Bryce basically fell to the background. Like, this was the bro book, or the broiest book she's ever written. Well, there was one good relationship in it. I shouldn't say that. But honestly, I just thought it was so weak. And what she did with the Maspers was like, and it could have been, oh my god, this is the best thing ever. So I'm still annoyed with that book. I do have the Games Gods Play. I have to read that. The Spell Shop, oh my goodness. This was my favorite. This is my dream perfect. If you need a warm, cozy fantasy, this is the perfect one. It is lovely. The writing will just envelop you in a cozy hug. All the characters are fantastic. The banter between our main character and her sentient spider plant friend is hilarious. They are just snarking back and forth, and there's a little romance, but it is just delightful. The magic is so sweet and enchanting. The problems are the kind that you can solve like in a half-hour episode. You know what I mean. The stakes are high, but they're doable. You're never freaking out. It is just the perfect cozy mystery. No fighting, no violence. Like, I loved this book so much, and yet there was plenty going on. Perfection and all the food you want. Go enjoy the jam. Quicksilver, I have to read. When the Moon Hatch, I have to read. Phantasma. It's Caraval with blood and haunts. But what do you want when the book is about two necromancers who are now entering a mansion and going up the 9 levels of horror and death-defying games to get their wish? Have fun with that. Also, one makes a deal with a phantasm who she gets it on with. It has your romantic, spicy thrills with those definite bloody chills. So, loved it. Super fun. It wasn't like I was dying over it, but I'm so excited to see a 1 on it because that means there might be more. And it took place in New Orleans, so if you missed it at Halloween, check it out for Mardi Gras. If you like your Mardi Gras a little like spooky with your king cake, check it out. I did really enjoy it. Need to read it. Okay, Fate Inked in Blood. I'm definitely considering this. Who doesn't love Vikings? Who doesn't love some spicy fun smut? I love Norse mythology, so of course I'm going to be completely into this. I love a girl who's trying to rescue herself, and we definitely got to see that here, but I love a guy who's like gonna be worthy of her and equal to that. I read it when it was cold out. The snowy setting was great. The sense of adventure was great. The twist at the end, I was like, oh no, but when we get the second book, yeah, I loved A Fate Inked in Blood. And I'm going to give her Bridge Kingdom series another chance now because I have way more faith in her than I did before. Someone told me I need to read The Honey Witch. And then Apprentice to the Villain. This was 4 stars. It wasn't like, wow, but it was better than the first one, and this was everything I wanted. It was funny, it was charming, it was sweet. It finally had that like chemistry between the main characters, like up against the wall learning to fight because she's the apprentice now, but it also had like the funny inter-office memos and the like set meaning about like secret dark plan and parchment about what to do when a dead body crosses your office. Like, we finally got there. It was all the stuff I wanted from the TikTok, so yay, 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 yay. But who the heck am I voting for? Ah! When push comes to shove, I think A Fate Inked in Blood is seriously being hurt by the fact that I read it in like January or February. The Spell Shop is just not Romantasy. Oh, I loved it so much though. But I think Feybound really deserves this one. It just had this originality. It is the one that stands out in my head. Like, will I reread The Spell Shop like as a cozy, wonderful yes? But I think Feybound gets it. I'm shocking myself here. I know. I just loved that book. Okay, I have a lot of reading to do when it comes to fantasy. I was told to pick up so many of these books, including Mr. Versori, who comments on so many of my videos, said he thought I'd love Sweet Sting of Salt. So I've got so many great recommendations. Thanks to all of you who gave them to me. I am buying all of these books, never you fear. But for now, my choices are between Emily Wilde's Map of the Other Lands, which I loved so much. I love the journal style writing, all the academic vibes and the academic lilt to the writing, since Emily is, of course, Emily. I thought it was going to be super annoyed when I was like, the author is definitely trying to keep her and her love apart, but it all made sense. And you know what? Keep the series going. Just keep it going. Keep it going. It's not just the writing that is great, though. Every time we meet a new kind of fae, every time we see a new part of the world, every time we explore anything there, I am just utterly enchanted and occasionally horrified because they're the old-fashioned fae and they will hurt you. But yeah, other than that. I also read Voyage of the Damned. However, the end did something that drives me crazy. It's just a trope or a plot device that I do not enjoy. So, not the book's fault. Personal thing there, but it was funny, it was original. I loved the main character, the found family stuff was great. I loved everything on the ship. The murder mystery was really fun. Fantasy murder mystery needs to be a new genre. In fact, someone told me that The Tainted Cup is just that, so thank you so much for that. Ultimately, I will be voting for Emily Wilde because she is perfect. Science fiction, I cannot vote for because I have never read adult science fiction. I know, maybe that'll be a fun video. And horror, I actually can vote for. I know. Murder Road by Simone St. James. And I think the only reason that she is in here is because of the paranormal aspects of this book. Otherwise, I think it would be a thriller. I think I've seen her in thriller before. But let me tell you, you know how some authors, when they look at the paranormal when they're writing a thriller, they're like, handprint on door. Okay. Was it there? Was it not? No, she doesn't flirt with the paranormal. She strips off her clothes, hops into bed, makes sure you're completely satisfied, and then might just have an engagement ring as well. That's her in the paranormal, okay? So, they're like this. And I love her for that. I love that she actually goes there. She doesn't shy away from it. She's just like, no. Thriller paranormal. Paranormal thriller. There it is. You are totally safe to read this if you're a big chicken like me. Is it spooky? Yes, but you can read it. I am definitely voting for it. I thought it was so much fun. I loved that it was set in like the 90s. It had to be for some aspects. You know, cell phones ruin a lot of stuff in books. They really make it tough, don't they? But it was good. It was spooky, and I think I read it for Summerween, and it was a good time. So, yes. Next category. I am so embarrassed to say that the only book that I have read here is Voyage of the Damned. Very bad for me. I definitely have to read Book of the Doors. It's in 2 categories. Wow. So, Voyage of the Damned. If I can say you have given me a fresh fantasy book, after everything I read, if I can read a book that is fantasy and be like, oh, that was just a breath of fresh air. That is saying something. And that's how I felt reading Voyage of the Damned, because it just did its own thing. It was like, hey, fantasy murder mystery. I want a character that's totally out there. Ganymede is his own guy. He is not playing by any rules. This book is not playing by any rules. And I am more than happy to give it my vote. I did not read any of the audiobooks. All right, favorite young adult fantasy. I am shocked to say I only read one of the books in here, and that is The Poisons We Drank by Bethany Baptiste. While I did not love the writing and necessarily some of the things that the author chose to focus on in the book, I did love the concept. I loved the ideas. I loved the outline for the story. I loved all the little details. Oh my god. Let me just tell you, if you love familiars, watch yourself in this one. They're not what you think. But I will be voting for her because it is so mean. If you've read a book and it's the only one in the category not to vote for it, I feel like. So let me know which book I should be reading in this category that I didn't. I was told not to read Air by B.M. Finlay, one of my regulars, so thank you so much. I'm glad I did not make that mistake, but she gets my vote for now. And finally, it comes down to two books in the young adult fiction category. Where Sleeping Girls Lie by Farida Abike Ayumede, which I did not love nearly as much as Ace of Spades. It was just so straightforward. It was just a straightforward murder mystery. And by the time we got to the end, the one big twist came a little too late if you're going to do that kind of twist to make it really work. And the writing was stellar, but man, I was waiting for more the whole entire time, and I felt so let down. So if you haven't read Ace of Spades yet, read this one first. You're gonna be like, wow, this is great. And then you're gonna read Ace of Spades and have your mind blown. I also read the reappearance of Rachel Price. This is by Holly Jackson, the same author as The Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and I loved this so much. I had a great time. This is about a girl who's lost her mother, and now the family needs money, so they're finally agreeing to do like film rights to it, and then her mom suddenly reappears. I had a great time with this. I thought it was kind of a unique mystery because the girl was like 2 or 3 and can't remember anything. The writing was not necessarily as good as the other book, but I had a much more fun time reading it. So I'm a little torn on which one to vote for. Ultimately, because I think the writing was better in Where Sleeping Girls Lie, I think I'm going to give that one my vote. Even though I felt let down for a YA thriller, it was really well done, and it did have some bigger things to say overall. So I will give it my vote. And that is it for the categories I can vote for. Thanks so much for joining me. I will hopefully get this up tomorrow in time for you to see it before they post the results. I will obviously film my reactions. I'm so excited to see what makes it and what doesn't. My TBR until the Goodreads Choice Awards is over will be dictated by these awards. So I will be continuing to read through. Please drop in the comments the books that I absolutely must read because you know I will vote for them and you think we'll make it through to the top 10. What a guessing game that is. But for now, I will let you get back to your book and I'll be getting back to mine tonight. I'm going to read The Crimson Moth because Kayla Lane said it was a must. And I'm very excited. This is one I've been wanting to read for a really long time. So thank you so much for joining me and I will see you super soon. Bye, guys.